Let's invite our first guest on to the show from Tycon Partners. They're a friend of the show. It's Glenn Bierman from Tycon Partners. If your company wants to explore a Reg A offering, they are the experts to see. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Listen, you guys are consultants for companies that want to raise money, thinking about going public. We have thousands of our listeners and viewers. They're new, young entrepreneurs. They need to know how to plan for the future. What advice would you give that startup company, that new company, that entrepreneur that has the big dream?
Well, first and foremost is to stay focused on your dream. Don't get distracted by other opportunities you might see as you progress through developing your own opportunity. So focus is the most important. Always have one bullseye, not multiple bullseyes.
You know, very wise. But they all, today everybody wants to hit the lottery. And so they dream about that public offering, or they dream about that exit strategy. They're thinking about that. At what point can that small business, how much business do they have to do? They want to raise some capital. They want to grow. They want to acquire somebody. How much capital or how much business do they have to be doing today before you could take them on and say, hey, this is a way you should go, maybe the Reg A, and we're going to drill down into what the Reg A is compared to the public offering. Where do they have to be? When companies come to see you, what do you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, you have to have an operational company. And typically an operational company implies that you've got revenues and you've got customers, you're growing. But that being said, we typically see life science, biotech, pharma type companies that have invested millions of dollars in the development of a new drug or a new cure for something. They don't necessarily need to have revenues, but they've got to be on that research, development, and FDA path. So either you're a non-life science company and you've already got operations and revenue, or you're a life science company that has the development and you're in your phase 1, phase 2 clinicals with the FDA.
So would that come into play with a tech startup or tech guys that have been developing, some futuristic app that's going to change the world?
So for tech startups, it's interesting because Regulation A+ was enacted to help tech startup companies. It actually came out of the lawmakers in California who wanted to provide public growth capital for technology companies that had little to no revenue and some intellectual property. That being said, part of the Jobs Act, they also enacted Regulation CF for crowdfunding to allow a real startup to raise up to $1 million. It's now $1,070,000, which is really your startup capital, if you will. Once you've passed your startup capital, you've developed, you're starting to onboard customers, you have operations, then you could take a look at Regulation A+ to raise up to $50 million in a 12-month period from the general public and grow the company to the next level. Instead of giving a big piece of your company away to a VC or private equity fund who will also want a board seat and control and claw back on the equity if you don't hit your projections. A word to the wise for all entrepreneurial CEOs, if you talk to anyone who's been experienced in the financial world, they'll all tell you the same thing. They've never seen a company hit their projections. And so if you do a deal with a private equity or a VC, they're going to ask for clawbacks when you don't hit your projections. Mm-hmm. So be careful of that.
So you're so knowledgeable. Is that Tycon Partners? Is that what you do? Can you help that young entrepreneur, that smaller business, advise them on these type of strategies?
Yes, we specialize in Reg A+, and with my background of 25 years in investment banking and former CEO of public and private companies, we use our knowledge to help our clients in a lot of different areas. So when we work with a company, we partner with them. We don't typically have an engagement like an investment banker would. which is kind of like having an engagement with a real estate agent. And both are looking to get paid on a transaction, which motivates them. And they don't really care what the transaction is, whether it's good for your company or not. They just want to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Tycon models that differently. We partner with our company to enhance value for them and help them with all aspects of getting a successful Reg A Plus IPO and listing. And we prefer the New York Stock Exchange. American is the place to list.
Well, our viewers and listeners, we have all kinds out there, and I know those young entrepreneurs at home, and they're growing their businesses. They need this type of help, and it's so important. And I want to get back. We have to take a break now, but right after this break, I want to start talking about that Reg A and how it compares to an IPO, and just some valuable information for our listeners. I appreciate it. Thank you for being part of our show. We're going to be right back with Glenn Bierman from Tycon Partners right on the other side of this break. All right, welcome back to CEO Money. I'm here with Glenn Bierman, and he's been educating us and our listeners and viewers about our young entrepreneurs, about the future and the direction and their goals, what they should be. Glenn, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So you gave us some really good information on the other side of that commercial, that they have to have some income in this small company unless they're in that medical development field. But once that company has some decent revenues, they're looking to grow, raise some capital, public capital. The Reg A Plus, the golden egg, the new pretty lady in town. What? Tell me about the Reg A Plus and what it's going to do to the industry and why.
So now that Reg A Plus is approaching a couple years old, it's really evolved into being the new IPO. There was a lot of talk in the capital markets how the number of IPOs have drastically declined over the last handful of years. What's been interesting for Tycon Partners, we've been having conversations with the mid-market investment banks that traditionally have not been aware of Reg A Plus and what it provides for in terms of an IPO for potentially some of their clients. So in the conversations, we've been educating them. And the interesting that comes out of the conversation is they didn't realize that Reg A Plus uses, Tycon's methodology. We use the same registration statement as a traditional IPO. Everything's done traditionally the same as a traditional IPO, including the listing process. That being said, the big major difference that the investment bankers are now learning about is Reg A Plus is better than traditional IPOs, because in traditional IPOs, there is what they call a quiet period. You're not allowed to talk about the offering in registration. And there's also, you're not allowed to general solicit or advertise, which you are with Reg A Plus. So that gives investment bankers a lot more interest now to do this new hybrid called Reg A Plus IPO. It's another way of getting your client listed as a public listing on a major exchange.
Nice.
We have seen now to date 4 companies listing with Reg A Plus IPOs on major exchanges, 3 on NASDAQ and 1 on the NYSE. And there's a 4th coming to NASDAQ as we speak that should be listing in a matter of a week or so. And there's plenty more in the funnel, including a handful of Tycon Partners clients.
Very well done. So we don't have a whole lot of time here. I got about 1 minute. I just, real quick, give me an idea when a company should consider raising public money.
Well, we say it this way. If you need money, you have a choice. You could raise it privately at a private valuation, or you can raise it through Reg A Plus at a public valuation, which is typically 10 to 15 times more doing it with Reg A Plus. So if you want to raise 2 to 5 million in a private round, you could probably raise 20 to 50 in a public round and give away the same amount of equity through Reg A Plus.
Ooh, that's that's wonderful to hear, because companies, you can set your sights on bigger goals, bigger dreams, and more opportunity as an entrepreneur to grow your company.
Yes, and you create a new currency called public stock,
Yes.
which has a lot of value.
All right, so I know my listeners and viewers are going to want to talk to you, get information from you. It's Glenn Bierman from Tycon Partners. Tell me again, do they go to the website? Do they call you? How should they reach you, Glenn?
Well, you can go to our website, tyconpartners.com, which is Tycon partners, plural.com, or you could call us at 305-998-7090. We'd love to hear from you.
Glenn Bierman from Tycon Partners, thank you so much for being part of CEO Money. It's been very informative. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
Yes.